Well, good afternoon. Welcome to Stab the Dragon, Whiskey Review number 4. This is October 7th of 2021, and I started researching this on this last weekend. October 3rd is when I started writing this, which is the 28th anniversary of the Battle of Mogadishu and Operation Gothic Serpent. What does that have to do with the whiskey review? Well, we're going to be looking at Hooten Young American Whiskey. And that has a direct link to that battle in Mogadishu. So first of all, the history. And I'm going to give not just the history of the whiskey, I'm going to give a little bit of the history of the Battle of Mogadishu, because that is intimately linked here with the whiskey. In 1991, the Somali government fell and the nation descended into chaos and civil war. As the war dragged on, the farms in the countryside were seriously degraded. A food shortage ensued, which by the next year resulted in a famine. The United Nations began sending food to Somalia, but most of the food was confiscated by the opposing warlords, so the distribution was very uneven and a lot of food was traded to other nations in exchange for weapons and ammunition. So the famine, of course, grew worse. In August of '92, President George H.W. Bush, sent the American military to Somalia in Operation Provide Relief to assist in delivering food. And then in November of '92, the Republican President Bush lost the election to Democrat Bill Clinton. And so then in December, realizing that Operation Provide Relief was inadequate, President Bush sent the 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit to Mogadishu, along with elements of the 10th Mountain Division U.S. Army. The chief faction opposing the UN efforts was Mohammed Farah Aidid. On June 5th of 1993, Aidid ordered an attack on some Pakistani peacekeeping troops, killing 24 and wounding 57, as well as wounding 3 American soldiers. United States troops now began making small raids attempting to find Aidid. On 12 July, the American forces conducted a helicopter gunship attack on a house in Mogadishu that was supposed to be full of Aidid's men. But it turned out the meeting had been advertised in Mogadishu as a peace meeting, and so the bloody attack turned the Somalians against the American forces, and so the Somalis had 54 dead and 161 wounded. On August 8th, Aidid militia attacked an American Army vehicle, killing 4 men from the 10th Mountain Division. A couple of weeks later, they attacked again, wounding 7 more American soldiers. So at this time, President Clinton, Democrat, responded by sending Task Force Ranger under the command of Major General William Garrison. And that included B Company, 3rd of the 75th Rangers under Captain Michael Steele, C Squadron, 1st Special Forces Detachment Delta under Lieutenant Colonel Harry Harrell, 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, and parts of the 24th Special Tactics Squadron of the U.S. Air Force, along with some Navy SEALs. September 25th, Aidid's militia shot down an Army Black Hawk using some new tactics and an RPG-7 grenade launcher, killing the 3-man crew and boosting the morale of the Somalis. In the afternoon of 3 October 1993, Task Force Ranger and the Delta Force team attacked a building in Mogadishu where a meeting of Aidid's lieutenants was in session. The attack got off to a very bad start when Ranger PFC Todd Blackburn fell from his Black Hawk and was severely injured. Then Black Hawk Super 61, piloted by CW3 Walcott, was shot down, killing both pilots, injuring the crew. 2 Delta operators survived and proceeded to defend their downed aircraft. Soon a second Black Hawk, Super 64, piloted by Michael Durant, was shot down, with Durant surviving. Then a long battle ensued that lasted all evening through the night into the morning of October 4, as the Rangers, 10th Mountain Division QRF, Malaysian and Pakistani UN troops all participated in the rescue recovery effort. 18 Americans were killed, 73 wounded. At The Somalis' estimated losses included 312 to 2,000 killed. So widely varied understanding of how many Somalis died. After reading the book, watching the movie, listening to testimony of Jeff Stricker, I'm going to lean towards the 2,000. The Somalis called the battle Day of the Rangers, and they consider it a victory. The book by Mark Bowden, here you go, Black Hawk Down, is riveting of a military history book as I have ever read. And I've read a lot of military history. I'm an Army veteran myself. Master Sergeant Norm Hooten is mentioned numerous times in the book, including that time in the chow line that we all saw in the movie. There's the movie, where he was in the chow line, butted into the chow line, had his weapon not on safe, and Captain Steele corrects him for carrying that unsafe weapon in the chow line, and Hooten raises his trigger finger, stating, "This is my safety." Yeah, that really happened. It's in the book. It's not just a Hollywood thing. The 2002 movie by Jerry Bruckheimer and Ridley Scott does an unbelievably good job of sticking to the book and telling the true story. Jeff Stricker said of the movie, as intense as it was not even close to being as intense as the real battle. After his military career, Norm Hooten, that special operator, and his longtime friend Tim Young formed a whiskey and cigar company to help remember and honor their lost friends, fellow veterans, brave men and women of the armed forces. They linked up with Master Sommelier George Milliot's and found the whiskey that they wanted at MGP in Indiana. This was a 12-year-old whiskey, second fill casks, and the whiskey was released in the summer of 2020. That's when I heard about it, about a year ago, and it's stated on the website, "We are committed to honoring America's heroes, one thought-provoking sip at a time." For the history section of my evaluation, this whiskey gets all 5 points. Just the tremendous history going into this. The history of the battle, the history of an American hero, Norm Hooten, the way that they discovered this whiskey, all 5 points. For marketing and packaging, I've not seen any advertisements really for this whiskey, but in my research I did come across a good article that told the story of Hooten Young by Tiffany Wynn at Tasty Chomps. There are a few reviews out there that I read or watched on YouTube, and I'm going to evaluate the packaging and marketing strictly from the bottle. Bottle is short, round, clear glass bottle with some very nice beveled edges. I don't know if you can really tell that. I think you can see that on the video. These beveled edges here really add a touch of class to otherwise unremarkable bottle. So that really improves the appearance of it. Similarly, the label is a very nice label. Notice the black and gold. I'm not sure if it's intended, but the Army Knights football team from West Point, I think their colors are black and gold. But it's just a very classy looking label. You can see the design right there. That's kind of a H and Y, Hooten Young design. It says age 12 years there on the label. American Whiskey, Hooten Young, age 12 years. And a small silver label down at the bottom, batch number 1. So you can kind of see that silver label there. Batch number 1. And in tiny print, it gives all the pertinent information. 750 milliliters, 46% alcohol by volume, 92 proof. And then, of course, on the back labels, the normal gobbledygook, but it includes this. Our mission is simple. We are committed to honoring America's heroes, one thought-provoking sip at a time. This whiskey was discovered by Master Sommelier George Milliotz and bottled and produced for Hooten Young, Silverton, Ohio. All that is here on the back label. It tells this little bit of the story there. But it does say distilled by MGP Distillery. And of course, the required government warning and all the legal mumbo jumbo that goes along with that, and the barcode. The website for Hooten Young is also a very attractive website. It's very informative. It tells the story of Master Sergeant Norm Hooten, Delta Force, U.S. Army, retired veteran of the Battle of Mogadishu, Somalia, 1993, and his partner Tim Young, and how they started their cigar and whiskey company. It's a very attractive website. To dig into the details of Hooten's storied military career as a Green Beret and Delta Force Special Operator, you've got to do other research, though. Most of that is not anywhere on the website, and I think it should be. I think that should be added to the website. But for marketing and packaging, I give this bottle a 5 out of 5. It's really very, very well done. It's very classy looking. Their mission and purpose resonates with me, so 5 out of 5. Composition. The website and bottle are clear and state that this whiskey is an American whiskey aged 12 years in used oak barrels, or second fill barrels, as they say. It's got a mash bill of 99% corn, 1% barley, distilled by MGP. So there's a lot of clarity and honesty that's refreshing on this bottle and on the website. Because and at the website it says it was distilled at 189 proof and barreled at 140. So because of that high proof, it can be considered a light whiskey. I'm not real sure. I've tried studying up on this, and part of it's really beyond me, but 99% corn makes it a corn whiskey, but it's also a light whiskey. So I'm just a little bit confused on the law here, but light whiskey is almost the same thing as like vodka almost, I guess, is how they are saying that. But because of the honesty and the openness of what's in this bottle, I'm going to say this bottle gets 15 points for composition, 15 out of 15. And believe me, there's a lot of bottles out there that are not honest and where you can't find the mash bill. So here they're really giving the information, and I like that. Appearance of this whiskey. You get 5 points for appearance, and it is on the light side. I don't know if you can see it in my glass here, but it's fairly light. It looks a little bit better in the bottle, but it's pretty light. It's certainly not a dark whiskey. It's a little bit darker than something like a Scotch, like Cutty Sark, and it does have a little bit better legs in the glass than the color would suggest. I'm not using my Glencairn this afternoon. I'm using my Declaration of Independence glass from Well Told glasses there. But I'm going to say that for appearance, it gets a 3 out of 5 because it is fairly light. Nose, you get a maximum of 10 points for nose, but here's the problem with me and nosing whiskeys. I really can't smell hardly a thing, just vaguely sweet, perhaps, a little bit of corn dust. I have a terrible nose. So 7 out of 10 for nosing. Tasting notes, up to 25 points here. I get a mildly sweet whiskey, corn dust in it. Definitely you can tell that this is a corn whiskey. Just a tad bit of pleasant bitterness on the finish for me. It's bitter, but in a good way. Just a little bit. Overall, this is a very pleasant drink. It's not super rich or complex by any means. It is a corn whiskey, but it's very enjoyable. Now, the professional tasters will say, like from the website, say that this tastes like baked apple, maple, vanilla, cream. Uh, I am not. I don't have a very developed palate. I mean, I've been sampling whiskeys now for a few years, and man, I don't know about baked apple, maple, vanilla, and cream, but I guess people out there get that. To me, this reminds me a little bit of mellow corn, but I'm going to rate this higher than mellow corn in taste. Maybe a little bit like Balcones True Blue Corn Whiskey, but that's a Texas blue whiskey, so it's much stronger than this ever thought about being. This is a very nice, mellow, soft, enjoyable drink. So taste is always very subjective, and I'm not a great one to sample and explain all these deep, rich flavors, but all in all, I'm going to give this a 19 out of 25 possible points. Mouthfeel, up to 15 points here, because how it feels in the mouth is an important part of whiskey. And this has a nice medium oily mouthfeel, not light, not really silky. It's got a medium finish, not a real lasting Kentucky hug. It's got just a little bit of heat level emanating from this drink as you swallow, and I'm a big fan of heat. I mean, I love all things hot and spicy. So this is a very pleasant feeling whiskey. So 12 out of 15 points for me. What about the price and the value and the availability of this whiskey? I got this whiskey at Specs in Fort Worth, and it's listed for $72.62. And yeah, don't tell my wife I spent that much money. It's the most I've ever paid for a whiskey. But I really wanted this bottle. I should have gone to Goody Goody because they had it for a couple of bucks less at $69.99. Total Wine doesn't have it at all. Now, if you only care for the taste and quality of the whiskey, then this bottle is going to be considered overpriced by $15 or $20. But what this whiskey represents in the finest American warrior tradition, and a portion of the profits does go to veteran causes, the mission, the history of the founder, all this goes into my evaluation of value. So when this bottle's done, I will probably get another one. I'm only going to drink this on special occasions. I cracked it open over the weekend due to the 28th anniversary of the Battle of Mogadishu, and I wanted to do this review this week. So for value price, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I'll discuss a little bit more about that in my final evaluation. So neat or a mixer? I am a 98% neat drinker. I really don't even like doing it on the rocks. I don't like adding water. I don't like all the extra calories that comes with mixed drinks. This is a 92 proof, so I think adding ice or water would ruin it for me. I can certainly see others using this corn whiskey as a mixture, but man, this whiskey is designed. I mean, the intent of the founders of this company is to sit around a campfire with some friends, veterans, and remember soldiers from the past, remember those who've gone on, and to share stories, swap stories. That's what this is about. And so I'm just saying the intent is to drink this neat, and that's how I like to drink it. I was drinking this whiskey when my wife and I were watching Black Hawk Down over the weekend, for the anniversary. So, we put this movie into the DVD, and I cracked open that bottle, and there you go. Enjoyed it. So I'm going to give this whiskey a 5 points for being good and neat. Bonus points. I have a bonus category in my evaluation. I've stressed throughout the review the history behind this bottle, the owner, what the mission of the company is. I identify as an Army vet. I did my service in the early 1980s. I'm actually third generation Army in my family. I've got a son in the Army. So all that, yeah, 5 bonus points. So what's my total point score for this whiskey? 85. Now people might say, well, that sounds a little bit low considering how much you talk about this. I'm a tough grader. This system of grading a whiskey is pretty rigorous. It includes everything I can think of. And so this is going to be an 85. I'm going to give it a letter grade of an A minus though, which is a little bit higher than the 85 would indicate. Now, my final means of evaluating this is what's my recommendation. On a strictly price value taste evaluation, if you're somebody who all you care about is the taste and what's in this bottle, you don't care anything at all for the history of the whiskey, then I would have to grade this as a barely recommend because it's really way overpriced for what you get. This bottle probably shouldn't be any more than $50 for what you're getting here. But for those of us out here who are veterans, you're military related, or you're a real history buff, you like military movies, military books, I would give this a highly recommend because this is a unique part of American history here. So if you're or maybe if you're a big fan of corn whiskey, then this would be a cautious recommend because this is a unique corn whiskey, but it's still overpriced. You know, I paid the full price for the bottle simply because of the history behind it and the name of Master Sergeant Norm Hooten. Will I buy it again? Absolutely. Yeah. When this runs out, I will definitely try and get another bottle. But I'm only going to drink this on special occasions. This is not something that I'm going to sip on just as a daily drink. Not at all at this price. So on anniversaries like October 3rd and 4th, Battle of Mogadishu, Veterans Day, certainly, or when my soldier's son comes home for a visit, we'll sit around and share a drink. So that would be a highly recommend under those circumstances. Well, thank you for watching this rather long whiskey review because I included the history behind this. And again, I would say be careful how you drink, when you drink. Don't drink and drive. If you're underage, do not drink. If you're an American soldier, you know, don't get carried away here. Thank you very much. StabtheDragon out.